Your energy is suppressing me, Daniel, Luna said with a sigh, her eyes still closed as she sat cross-legged on her yoga mat in the middle of our luxury penthouse. Your attachment to money is destroying my aura. I can feel it dimming with each stock ticker you check. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been monitoring a volatile tech investment and studied her for a moment. Was she serious? Our paths are diverging. We should just be friends in this lifetime. Her serene voice floated across the room, the declaration delivered with the casual confidence of someone announcing tomorrow's weather forecast. 3 years together, and this was how it ended? With complaints about my energy and a spiritual platitude delivered in lotus position? Perfect, I replied, closing my laptop. From a risk management perspective, that's the correct decision. Her eyes flew open, the serenity evaporating instantly. This clearly wasn't the response she'd expected. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. My name is Daniel Foster, 33 years old, lead investment analyst at Blackridge Capital on Wall Street. I make risk assessments for a living, measuring potential gains against probable losses. It's a skill that serves me well beyond the trading floor. When I met Luna Patel 3 years ago at a charity gala, she was breathtaking in an ethically sourced silk dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. With her dark hair cascading down her back and a knowing smile, she approached me with the confidence of someone who was used to being the most interesting person in the room. Let me guess, she said, sipping champagne worth $800 a bottle. You're calculating how much everyone here is worth. I smiled. Actually, I was wondering how many people here actually care about the cause versus how many are here for the tax write-off. She laughed, and it was like music. I'm Luna, and I believe people are more than their financial portfolios. Daniel Foster, and I believe people's actions tell you more than their words ever will. Little did I know how prophetic that statement would be. Luna was unlike anyone I'd ever dated. Where I was structured, she was spontaneous. I tracked markets, she tracked moon phases. I invested in stocks, she invested in crystal collections. She taught yoga to wealthy women in the Upper East Side and called herself a spiritual guide to the elite. Her clients paid $500 per session to be told that money was corrupting their souls. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I was captivated. For a man who spent his days surrounded by people who worshiped the same god of money that I did, Luna was exotic, refreshing. She moved into my penthouse 6 months after we started dating, filling my minimalist space with Himalayan salt lamps, dream catchers, and the persistent smell of sage. Your space needs cleansing, Daniel, she insisted. There's stagnant energy from all your focus on material wealth. I let her sage every corner of my home because when she finished, she'd kiss me in a way that made me forget about quarterly projections and market volatility. She'd pull me to our bedroom, and I'd think this spiritual nonsense was a small price to pay for what we had. For nearly 3 years, we existed in a strange balance. I worked 14-hour days, building my portfolio and climbing the ranks at Blackridge. Luna spent her days teaching the wealthy how to breathe properly and convincing them that their unhappiness stemmed from their attachment to the very money they paid her with. At night, we'd come together in our luxury penthouse and somehow make it work. Our friends were a mix of my financial colleagues and her yoga clients, with little overlap in interests or conversation. At dinner parties, my friends would discuss market trends, while her friends would talk about aligning chakras. I endured her friends' subtle disdain for my career, just as she tolerated my colleagues' barely concealed amusement at her profession. There were signs of trouble, of course. Looking back, I can see them clearly. Luna would make comments about how my obsession with money was blocking my spiritual growth. She'd roll her eyes when I'd check market updates during dinner. She'd plan impulsive trips to spiritual retreats in Bali or Peru, expecting me to drop everything and join her. Or worse, fund her solo journeys of self-discovery. But the sex was incredible. She was beautiful, and I was making enough money that her spending habits, while annoying, weren't a financial concern. Classic sunk cost fallacy, as we say in finance. So I'd invested 3 years in the relationship, so I kept investing more, hoping for a return that would justify the expense. Until that Thursday afternoon in May. I was working from home, monitoring a precarious situation with a tech investment that was showing signs of volatility. Luna had just returned from a sound bath healing session, whatever the hell that was. She rolled out her yoga mat in the middle of our living room, directly in my line of sight, and assumed a lotus position. After 15 minutes of her loudly humming Om, I asked if she could take her meditation to the dedicated yoga room I'd had renovated for her birthday last year. "Your negative energy is distracting me," she said without opening her eyes. "The universe brought me to this exact spot for a reason." I bit back a retort about how the universe seemed remarkably concerned with it disrupting my workday and returned to my laptop. That's when she dropped the bomb. "Daniel," she said in that serene voice that had once charmed me but now set my teeth on edge, "I've been doing a lot of reflection lately." I didn't look up from my screen, where numbers were rapidly turning from green to red. "Our energies are misaligned. Ihainan. Your attachment to material wealth is creating a toxic environment for my spiritual growth. I think," she paused dramatically, waiting until I finally looked at her, "I think our paths are diverging. We should just be friends in this lifetime." I stared at her. This woman who lived in my home, spent my money, and had just informed me that my existence was toxic to her spiritual growth. 3 years of building a life together, and she was ending it while sitting cross-legged on a $300 yoga mat I'd bought her in an apartment I paid for, surrounded by luxury items she claimed to disdain but never refused. In that moment, something shifted in me. It was like watching a stock I'd been emotionally invested in finally crash. The initial pain was quickly replaced by a cold, analytical clarity. I closed my laptop. "Perfect," I said. "From a risk management perspective, that's the correct decision." Luna's eyes flew open. "What?" "I agree, we should be friends." I stood up, straightening my custom-tailored shirt. "In fact, as your friend, I should let you know that I'll need the apartment back. Fully. The lease is in my name, and I think a clean break would be best for both of our energies. I want you out of the penthouse by Friday." The words left my mouth with surprising ease as I watched Luna's face transform from serene meditation to shocked disbelief in the span of 3 seconds. "You can't be serious, Daniel. We've been together for 3 years. Her voice cracked slightly, the first sign that her spiritual facade was beginning to crumble. "Actually, we're just friends now, remember? Your decision. 30 minutes ago." I closed my laptop, the quarterly reports forgotten as I savored this moment of perfect clarity. And I don't share my $4.2 million Manhattan penthouse with friends. That's a romantic partner privilege. The look on her face was worth every second of the 3 years I'd spent watching her spend my money while criticizing my materialistic lifestyle. Luna's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. This clearly wasn't the reaction she'd expected. In our 3 years together, I had always been the one to compromise, to accommodate her whims, to fund her spiritual journey while she criticized mine. "You basically want me to move out?" she finally managed. "By Friday," I confirmed. "That gives you tomorrow to pack. As friends, I'm happy to provide you with the contact information for an excellent real estate agent. Rachel helped several of my colleagues find nice places within their budgets." "My budget? Daniel, you know I put all my money into my spiritual coaching certification last month." I smiled pleasantly. "Perhaps this is the universe telling you it's time to monetize that investment. Very exciting for you. But where am I supposed to go in one day?" "You're very connected to the universe, Luna. I'm sure it will provide." I picked up my laptop. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a call with Tokyo in 20 minutes and I need to prepare." I walked to my home office, closed the door, and leaned against it. My heart was pounding, but not with grief, with liberation. For 3 years, I'd compromised my values, my lifestyle, and my peace for a woman who had just discarded me like a poorly performing asset. But unlike Luna, I understood the value of cutting losses. The next 24 hours were a hurricane of emotions and logistics. Luna alternated between tears, rage, and attempts at spiritual guilt tripping. She called me materialistic, heartless, and spiritually bankrupt. She threatened to tell all our mutual friends that I'd thrown her out on the street. "Feel free," I said calmly. "Be sure to mention the part where you broke up with me first." She tried a different tactic, attempting to seduce me one last time. Something about tantric closure. I declined and reminded her that U-Haul closed at 7 p.m. if she wanted to rent a truck. By Friday evening, my apartment was free of dream catchers, Buddha statues, and Luna's extensive collection of crystals that were supposed to attract abundance, but somehow never eliminated her need for my credit card. The cleaner had been through, and the lingering smell of sage was replaced with the simple scent of lemon polish. I ordered expensive sushi, opened a bottle of Japanese whiskey I'd been saving, and sat in my reclaimed space, feeling both empty and full at the same time. That night, I slept better than I had in years. On Saturday morning, I went to the gym, hired a decorator to restore my apartment to its pre-Luna state, and changed all the locks, just in case Luna's spiritual journey led her back to my doorstep with the key she'd forgotten to return. By Monday, I was fully immersed in work, finding comfort in the predictable patterns of numbers and market trends. My colleagues noticed the change in me immediately. "What happened to you?" I asked James, my closest friend at Blackridge. "You look lighter." "Portfolio adjustment," I replied, "divested from a high-maintenance, low-return investment." James laughed, immediately understanding. "Luna's gone? Man, we've been waiting for you to come to your senses for years." "Years? Daniel, she called your job soul-sucking at the Christmas party to the CEO's face." I winced at the memory. "Well, it's done now." "Good, because there's someone you should meet. New client, real estate attorney. Smart as hell, and definitely your type. If your type is no longer pretentious yoga instructors who think money is evil while spending yours." I shook my head. "Too soon, James. I need to recalibrate." "Fair enough, but when you're ready, say the word." I threw myself into work with renewed focus. Without Luna's constant distractions and demands, I was sharper, more productive. I closed 2 major deals that had been stalling and was given the lead on a new high-profile acquisition. It was during this time that I began to notice something. Luna wasn't exactly honoring the friends part of our new arrangement. She'd blocked me on all social media, returned mail I'd forwarded to her new address, a surprisingly expensive condo in Brooklyn that made me question exactly how much those private yoga clients were paying, and told mutual acquaintances that I was energetically unsafe. So much for friendship. 2 months after our breakup, I attended a networking event at the Harvard Club. As I circulated through the crowd, discussing market trends and potential investments, I spotted a woman I didn't recognize. She stood out not because of ethereal beauty or spiritual affectations, but because of the intensity with which she was questioning one of the senior partners from a competing firm. She was elegantly dressed in a tailored black suit, her auburn hair pulled back in a simple style that emphasized her sharp cheekbones and intelligent eyes. I moved closer, intrigued by the conversation. "Which is why the property valuation doesn't account for the upcoming rezoning," she was saying. "Your clients are undervaluing the asset by at least 20%. The man she was speaking to, Walter Green, a notoriously difficult negotiator, looked uncomfortable. "The rezoning hasn't been approved yet." "But it will be," she countered confidently. "I've reviewed the Planning Commission's last 3 years of decisions. This exact type of rezoning has been approved in similar neighborhoods with a 92% success rate. Your clients are using the uncertainty to drive down the price, which is a sound strategy. Gosh, unless the other party has done their homework." I couldn't help myself. I stepped in. "She's right, Walter. The Adams property in Queens went through the same process last year. Value jumped 30% once the rezoning was approved." Walter glared at me, but the woman turned with an appreciative smile. "Thank you. At least someone in finance does their due diligence." "Daniel Foster," I introduced myself, extending my hand. "Olivia Bennett," she replied, her handshake firm. "Real estate attorney with Morrison and Bell." "Olivia," Walter suddenly looked alarmed. "You're Luna Patel's friend, aren't you?" And there it was, the connection I hadn't made. This sharp, articulate woman was friends with my ex. I prepared for the conversation to turn cold, for accusations about my materialistic aura or whatever nonsense Luna had been spreading. Instead, Olivia merely raised an eyebrow. "I know, Luna, yes. Is that relevant to our discussion about property valuations?" Walter looked between us awkwardly. "I just remembered I need to speak with someone. Excuse me." As he hurried away, Olivia turned back to me with a knowing look. "So you're the ex." Guilty, I admitted. Though I've been called worse things, energetically constipated was a personal favorite. To my surprise, Olivia laughed. That sounds like Luna. She means well, but she lives in a different reality than the rest of us. I was going to say she has strong perspectives, but your version works too. Olivia sipped her drink, studying me. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Based on Luna's description, a soulless money robot who crushes dreams for profit and probably kicks puppies in his spare time. I winced. I've never kicked a puppy. The rest depends on who you ask. I'm asking you. Then no, I don't crush dreams for profit. I analyze risk and reward. Sometimes that means telling people their dreams aren't financially viable. Olivia nodded thoughtfully. Practical. I respect that. We talked for nearly an hour discussing everything from real estate investments to our favorite hidden spots in the city. Not once did she mention crystals, energy, or spiritual alignment. It was the most refreshing conversation I'd had with a woman in years. I should go, she finally said, checking her watch. Early court appearance tomorrow. Can I call you sometime? The words were out before I could analyze the risk. Olivia hesitated. I don't think that's a good idea. Luna is my friend. I thought she and I were friends too, I said with a wry smile. Apparently friendship means different things to different people. That's fair. She handed me her business card. But my friendship with Luna is important to me. It was nice meeting you, Daniel. As she walked away, I looked down at the card in my hand. Olivia Bennett, Morrison & Bell. I tucked it into my pocket, telling myself I wouldn't use it. Some investments, no matter how promising, weren't worth the complications they'd bring. I kept that resolution for exactly 17 days. Then came the incident at Soho House. I was having dinner with clients when Luna walked in with a group of her yoga friends. She spotted me immediately, whispered something to her companions, and they all turned to stare. Throughout the meal, I could feel their eyes on me, could see them whispering and occasionally laughing. When I excused myself to use the restroom, Luna intercepted me in the hallway. Daniel, she said coolly, what a surprise. Luna, you look well. And she did, dressed in what appeared to be a very expensive new outfit for someone who had claimed poverty when moving out. I am well, better than ever, actually. My spiritual practice has flourished since removing negative influences from my life. Glad to hear it. She moved closer, lowering her voice. My friends think I should thank you. The universe was using you to show me what I don't want in a partner. Someone cold, calculating, obsessed with material wealth. Happy to have been of service, I replied evenly. If you'll excuse me. Wait, she put a hand on my arm. I've been thinking about our friendship. Maybe we could get together sometime, talk things through. I'm staying with a friend in Tribeca until I find the right space energetically. You could come over, I could cook that quinoa dish you pretended to like. Her hand slid down my arm, and I suddenly understood. Luna had expected our breakup to devastate me. She'd wanted me to beg, to fall apart. My calm acceptance and quick recovery had wounded her ego. I don't think that would be appropriate, I said, gently removing her hand. But I wish you well. Her expression hardened. You know, my spiritual advisor says your type always dies alone. All the money in the world can't buy genuine connection. Your spiritual advisor charges you $200 an hour to tell you what you want to hear. I'd question that investment strategy. I stepped around her. Goodbye, Luna. As I returned to my table, I could feel her glare burning into my back. The next day, mutual acquaintances informed me that Luna was telling people I'd made a drunken pass at her at Soho House, and she'd had to let me down gently again. That afternoon, I took out Olivia's business card and made the call. This is Olivia Bennett. Olivia, it's Daniel Foster. We met at the Harvard Club a few weeks ago. A pause. I remember. I'm calling about a potential investment opportunity, a commercial property in Tribeca. I'd value your professional opinion. Another pause. Is this actually about real estate, or is this your way of asking me out despite what I said about Luna? It's about real estate, I assured her. If your professional assessment leads to dinner, that would be a separate matter entirely. She laughed, and the sound made something warm unfurl in my chest. Send me the details. My professional opinion doesn't come cheap, Mr. Foster. I wouldn't expect it to, Miss Bennett. The property in question was legitimate, a mixed-use building I'd been considering for my investment portfolio. Olivia met me there the following week, professionally dressed and armed with research about the neighborhood, recent comparable sales, and zoning regulations. We spent 2 hours examining the property and discussing its potential. Her insights were sharp, her knowledge extensive. She pointed out issues I hadn't considered and opportunities I'd missed. By the end of the tour, I knew two things with absolute certainty. The building was a sound investment, and Olivia Bennett was exceptional. Well, I asked as we stood on the sidewalk afterward, your professional assessment? With the right renovations and tenant mix, you're looking at a 16 to 18% return within 5 years. I'd make an offer, but contingent on a full structural inspection. That west wall concerns me. Thank you, that's very helpful. I hesitated. Would you be interested in discussing it further over dinner? Purely professional, of course. Olivia gave me a measured look. Daniel, let's be clear. Luna is my friend. She's also dramatic, prone to exaggeration, and currently on a spiritual revenge tour against you. If we have dinner, professional or otherwise, she'll consider it a betrayal. I understand. Just dinner then. You're persistent. I recognize value when I see it. She smiled despite herself. One dinner, professional, at a restaurant Luna would never set foot in. I know just the place. We had dinner at a steakhouse in Midtown that Luna had always refused to enter on ethical grounds. Olivia ordered a rare ribeye without apology and asked intelligent questions about my investment strategies. I found myself speaking more openly about my work than I ever had with Luna, who would zone out or make disapproving comments whenever I discussed finance. So why real estate law? I asked as we shared a dessert. I like that it's tangible, she replied. Investments, stocks. They're important but abstract. Real estate is concrete. Buildings, homes, land. These are things people can see, touch, use. There's something satisfying about that. I never thought about it that way. Most people don't. They see property as numbers on a balance sheet, not as spaces where people live their lives. She set down her fork. Can I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Why Luna? You two seem mismatched. I considered the question. She was different from anyone in my world. Unpredictable, free-spirited. For a while it was exciting. And then it was exhausting. Every conversation became a lecture about my spiritual failings. Every purchase was evidence of my materialism. If I worked late, I was a slave to capitalism. If I wanted a weekend at home instead of at a silent retreat in upstate New York, I was resistant to growth. Olivia nodded thoughtfully. She does have strong opinions about how others should live. What about you? Luna mentioned you've been friends since college. You seem so different. We are. But Luna was there for me during a difficult time. My mother was sick my junior year, and Luna was incredibly supportive. She can be a good friend when it counts. Olivia swirled the wine in her glass. Though lately she's been more focused on her spiritual business than actual friendship. Spiritual business, that's an accurate description. Olivia laughed. Don't tell her I called it that. She thinks she's on a sacred mission to elevate consciousness, one wealthy client at a time. By the end of dinner, our conversation had drifted far from professional matters. I found myself telling her about growing up in a middle-class family in New Jersey, working my way through college, the satisfaction I felt in building financial security. She told me about her parents' immigration from Taiwan, their emphasis on education, her decision to pursue law against their wishes for medicine. When I walked her to a taxi, there was a moment, her hand in mine, her eyes meeting mine, when I almost leaned in. But I remembered her concern about Luna and held back. Thank you for your professional insights, I said formally. They were very valuable. Olivia's lips curved into a smile. You're welcome. The dinner was unexpectedly enjoyable. Unexpectedly? Luna said you were boring, she admitted. That was clearly an inaccurate assessment. High praise. Good night, Daniel. She squeezed my hand before getting into the taxi. I watched it drive away, feeling something I hadn't experienced in a long time. The thrill of potential, of something just beginning. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and I maintained the pretense of a professional relationship. I consulted her on another property. She sought my opinion on an investment opportunity for a client. We met for coffee to discuss market trends, for lunch to review comparable sales in emerging neighborhoods. Each meeting was longer than the last. Our conversation strayed further from real estate and finance. I learned that she's stress-baked at midnight before big cases, that she had a weakness for reality cooking shows, that she'd wanted to be an architect before choosing law. She discovered my secret love of science fiction novels, my inability to keep houseplants alive, my childhood dream of becoming a baseball player. We were careful. We met in places Luna wouldn't go. At times, she wouldn't be out. Olivia maintained her friendship with Luna, listening to her continued complaints about me while offering non-committal responses. "It feels dishonest," Olivia confessed one evening as we walked through Central Park. "Not telling her we're whatever we are." "What are we?" I asked, taking her hand for the first time outside of a greeting or farewell. She looked at our intertwined fingers. "I don't know. Friends? Colleagues with chemistry? I'd like to be more than that." "I know, so would I, but Luna broke up with me, Olivia. She ended our relationship. She doesn't get to dictate who either of us sees afterward." "It's not that simple. There are rules about dating friends' exes." "Rules created by whom? For what purpose? To protect feelings that may not even exist anymore?" Olivia sighed. "You analyze everything like an investment, don't you?" "I analyze everything like someone who wants to understand the actual risks versus the perceived ones." I stopped walking, turning to face her. "The real question is, what's the potential return worth to you?" She looked up at me, her expression serious. "That's a very clinical way to approach potential relationships." "Is it? I think it's honest. Everything in life involves risk. The question is always whether what you might gain is worth what you might lose." "And what do you think I might gain?" "Me," I said simply, "for whatever that's worth to you." For a moment, she just looked at me. Then she laughed, a genuine sound of surprise and delight. "That's either the most arrogant or the most sincere thing anyone's ever said to me." "Possibly both." "Probably both," she agreed, and then she kissed me. It wasn't like kissing Luna, which had always felt like she was bestowing a spiritual gift upon me. Kissing Olivia was a conversation, an exchange, a mutual discovery. When we finally pulled apart, I felt lightheaded in a way that had nothing to do with oxygen deprivation. "Well," she said a little breathlessly, "I guess we're not just colleagues anymore." "I guess not. Oh, Luna's gonna hate this." "Probably," I agreed. "But is that a sufficient reason not to pursue something that could be exceptional?" Olivia considered this. "No, it's not. But I want to tell her myself in the right way. Can we keep this between us a little longer? Until I figure out how to approach it?" I agreed, though I had my doubts about there being a right way to tell Luna anything she didn't want to hear. Still, I respected Olivia's loyalty to her friend, even as our relationship deepened over the following weeks. We were discreet but not secretive. We didn't announce our relationship on social media or attend events together where Luna might be present, but we didn't hide when we were out in public. It was only a matter of time before someone saw us and word got back to Luna. That someone turned out to be Walter Green, the same investment banker who had first identified Olivia as Luna's friend at the Harvard Club. He spotted us having dinner at a small Italian restaurant in the West Village, my hand clearly covering Olivia's on the table, our posture unmistakably intimate. The next day, Luna called Olivia in a rage. I only heard Olivia's side of the conversation as we were having breakfast at my apartment when the call came. "Luna, calm down. Yes, I've been seeing Daniel. No, it's not a betrayal. It's been 3 months since you broke up with him. That's not fair. No, he didn't pursue me to get back at you. Luna, you're not being rational." By the time the call ended, Olivia was pale and shaken. "She says I'm dead to her, that I violated the sacred trust of female friendship, that I've been corrupted by your materialistic energy." "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. Despite my issues with Luna, I knew her friendship was important to Olivia. She's going to tell everyone I stole her boyfriend, that we were sneaking around behind her back. We weren't. You didn't. She ended things with me, and we started seeing each other months later. Facts don't matter in Luna's reality. She's creating her own narrative, and in it, I'm the villain. I took her hand. Do you regret this? Us? Olivia looked at me for a long moment. No, but I wish it hadn't cost me a friendship. Luna may come around eventually, once she calms down. Olivia shook her head. You don't know her like I do. Luna doesn't forgive what she sees as betrayal, and she holds grudges forever. She was right, Luna didn't calm down. Instead, she launched what can only be described as a spiritual smear campaign. She told anyone who would listen that Olivia and I had been having an affair while Luna and I were still together, that Olivia had coveted her lifestyle and boyfriend from the beginning, that I had pursued Olivia as revenge for the breakup. Most people saw through it, recognizing Luna's tendency for drama and exaggeration. But some believed her, particularly in her yoga community, where she was viewed as something of a guru. Olivia lost clients who attended Luna's classes. She received nasty messages on social media from Luna's followers. This is ridiculous, Olivia said one evening, showing me her phone. Someone just told me my chakras are irreparably damaged and my next life will be as a dung beetle. I took the phone, blocking the account before handing it back. Luna's influence has limits. This will blow over. Will it? Because it's affecting my professional reputation. A potential client canceled our meeting today because they heard I steal boyfriends and can't be trusted. I felt a surge of guilt. I'm sorry, I never wanted to cause problems for you. It's not your fault, it's Luna's. She's the one spreading lies. Still, maybe we should be more public. Make it clear that our relationship began long after Luna and I broke up. Olivia considered this. Maybe you're right. Hiding just makes it seem like we have something to be ashamed of. We decided to attend an industry charity gala together the following weekend. It was a high-profile event with attendees from both finance and legal circles. Luna wouldn't be there. The ticket price alone would offend her anti-capitalist sensibilities. But many people who knew all three of us would be. Olivia wore a stunning emerald gown that complemented her auburn hair. I wore my best tuxedo. We entered the ballroom hand in hand, making no attempt to disguise our relationship. The reaction was mixed. Some people gave us knowing looks. Others whispered behind their hands. A few of Luna's more socially connected clients made a point of turning their backs when we approached. This was a mistake, Olivia murmured, as we stood at the bar, watching another group move away as we approached. No, it wasn't, I said firmly. We have nothing to hide. James appeared at my elbow, grinning. About time you two went public. I was getting tired of pretending I didn't know. I looked at him in surprise. You knew? Daniel, I saw you having dinner with Olivia 2 months ago. You were looking at her like she hung the moon. It wasn't hard to figure out. And you didn't say anything? He shrugged. Not my business, but for what it's worth, you two make a lot more sense than you and Luna ever did. As the evening progressed, more of my colleagues and Olivia's came by to express similar sentiments. By the end of the night, it was clear that most people in our professional circles were either supportive or indifferent to our relationship. That wasn't so bad, Olivia admitted as we shared a taxi home. No, it wasn't, I agreed, pulling her closer. People who matter know the truth. And Luna? Luna can believe whatever she wants. Her opinion stopped being relevant to my life the moment she decided we should just be friends. Olivia laughed softly. When she said that, did you have any idea it would lead to this? To dating her best friend? No, that wasn't exactly part of my investment strategy. But here we are. Here we are, I echoed, kissing her temple. And I wouldn't change a thing. The fallout from Luna continued for weeks. She escalated her claims, now telling people that I had been emotionally abusive during our relationship and that Olivia was being manipulated by me. She even attempted to contact Olivia's parents, though thankfully they had enough sense to ignore her dramatic warnings about their daughter's choice in partners. The situation came to a head at a yoga studio opening in Brooklyn. Olivia had been invited by the owner, a former client, long before the drama with Luna began. We had no idea that Luna would also be there, apparently hired as a spiritual consultant for the space. We walked in hand, and the room went silent. Luna stood at the front, in the middle of blessing a crystal display, her eyes widening in shock and then narrowing in rage. You dare come here? She hissed, loud enough for everyone to hear. To my sacred space? Sarah invited me, Olivia said calmly, nodding to the studio owner. I didn't know you would be here, Luna. Of course you didn't, Luna said with vicious sarcasm. Just like you didn't know what you were doing when you stole my boyfriend. I felt Olivia tense beside me. Luna, that's not what happened, and you know it. Don't tell me what I know, Luna's voice rose. I know that while I was helping you through your breakup with Todd, you were coveting my life, my man. Whispers spread through the room. The studio owner looked deeply uncomfortable. That's not true, Olivia said, her voice steady despite the public confrontation. Daniel and I didn't get together until months after you ended things with him. Lies! Luna's carefully cultivated spiritual facade was cracking, revealing the raw anger beneath. You betrayed me after everything I did for you. What exactly did you do for me, Luna? Olivia's voice had taken on an edge I'd never heard before. Besides talk about yourself constantly, make everything about your spiritual journey, judge my career choices, take without ever giving back? Luna gasped dramatically. How dare you? I was the most supportive friend you've ever had. Were you? Because when I made partner last year, you turned my celebration dinner into a lecture about corporate greed. When my father had his heart attack, you sent healing crystals instead of visiting the hospital because you don't like the energy of medical facilities. When I needed an actual friend, you were too busy building your brand as a spiritual guru to wealthy women who don't know any better. The room was dead silent now. Luna's face had gone white with shock, then red with humiliation. She looked around, suddenly aware of the audience witnessing her very unspiritual behavior. This is proof of his negative influence on you, she stammered. The Daniel I knew would never have turned you against me like this. I couldn't help myself. I laughed. The Daniel you knew? Luna, you never knew me. You were too busy trying to change me to ever see who I actually was. I saw you perfectly, she spat. A soulless, materialistic, a man who worked hard to build a life, Olivia interrupted, who values stability and honesty, who listens when I speak instead of waiting for his turn to talk about his spiritual awakening. Luna turned to the studio owner, who was watching the scene with undisguised fascination. Sarah, I cannot consecrate this space with their toxic energy present. They must leave, or I will. Sarah looked between Luna and Olivia, clearly calculating the professional and social implications of her decision. Perhaps it would be best if you both came back another time, she said diplomatically. No need, Olivia said coolly. Congratulations on the studio, Sarah. I wish you success. She turned to Luna. And I wish you healing, Luna. Genuinely. Because this level of anger and resentment that isn't spiritual. It's just sad. We left the studio with our dignity intact, though I could feel Olivia trembling beside me. Once we were on the sidewalk, safely out of earshot, she let out a shaky breath. Well, that was mortifying. I thought you were magnificent, I told her honestly. You stood your ground without stooping to her level. I lost my temper. I said things I've been holding back for years. She looked troubled. That's not like me. Sometimes the truth needs to be said, even if it's uncomfortable. I put my arm around her. Are you okay? She leaned into me. Surprisingly, yes. It feels like a weight has been lifted. I've been walking on eggshells around Luna for years, managing her moods, accommodating her self-centeredness. I don't have to do that anymore. No, you don't. She looked up at me with a small smile. Let's go home. 2 weeks later, Luna made one final attempt at retaliation. She showed up at my office building, waiting in the lobby to confront me. Security called up and I considered avoiding her entirely, but decided it was better to face her and end this drama once and for all. When I stepped off the elevator, she was pacing the marble floor, looking out of place in her flowing bohemian dress among the suits and tailored outfits of the financial district. She spotted me and marched over, her expression a mixture of anger and something else, vulnerability, perhaps. We need to talk, she said without preamble. Do we? I think everything's been said. Not everything, she lowered her voice. I'm leaving New York, moving to Sedona to study with a spiritual master. I wish you well, I said sincerely. I'm not here for your well wishes, she snapped. I'm here to tell you that I see through your game now. Dating Olivia to hurt me. It was calculated from the beginning. I sighed. Luna, not everything is about you. I'm with Olivia because we connect on a level I never experienced with anyone else, including you. There was no master plan to hurt you. She was my best friend, and you were supposedly mine after our breakup. Yet you blocked me on social media, spread rumors about me, and tried to damage my reputation. Is that how you treat friends? She flinched. You didn't fight for me. When I said we should be friends, you were supposed to argue, to prove your love. And there it was, the truth behind the drama. Luna had never intended to end our relationship. The let's be friends speech had been a test, one I was supposed to fail by begging her to reconsider. My easy acceptance had wounded her pride, and everything since had been an attempt to regain control of a narrative that had slipped from her grasp. I'm not going to apologize for taking you at your word, I said quietly, or for finding happiness afterward. With my best friend, the one person who was off limits. Luna, people aren't property. Olivia is an autonomous adult who made her own choice. So did I. So did you. She shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. You've changed her. The Olivia I knew would never have betrayed me like this. The Olivia you knew has always been her own person. You just never bothered to notice because you were too focused on yourself. The tears spilled over. I loved you, Daniel. Despite your flaws, your materialistic values, your spiritual blindness, I loved you. For a moment, I felt a twinge of the affection I'd once had for her. Behind the dramatic gestures and spiritual platitudes, there was a woman I had cared for deeply, even if we were fundamentally incompatible. I loved you too, Luna. But love isn't enough when two people want completely different lives. She wiped her tears away, visibly pulling herself together. I hope your money keeps you warm at night, both of you. It doesn't, but Olivia does. I checked my watch. I have a meeting. Good luck in Sedona. I turned to walk away, but her voice stopped me. We were together for 3 years, Daniel. Does that mean nothing to you? I looked back at her. It meant everything at the time. Now it means we tried, we failed, and we've both moved on. That's how life works. Is that all I am to you now, a failed investment? No, Luna, you're a chapter in my life that's ended. I hope your next one brings you happiness. I left her standing in the lobby, her expression a mixture of anger and loss. It was the last time I saw her in person, though I heard through mutual acquaintances that she did indeed move to Sedona, where she apparently found some measure of the peace she'd been seeking in New York. 6 months after that final confrontation, Olivia moved into my penthouse. The space that had once been filled with Luna's spiritual paraphernalia was now shared with Olivia's law books, framed architectural prints, and growing collection of cookbooks. We established a routine that accommodated both our demanding careers while prioritizing time together. On our 1-year anniversary, I took Olivia to dinner at the same Italian restaurant where Walter Green had spotted us, setting off the final act of the Luna drama. Remember the last time we were here? I asked as we finished our meal. How could I forget? It was the beginning of Luna's spiritual warfare. I smiled. Worth it? Absolutely, she said without hesitation. Though I never expected a casual business meeting about a Tribeca property to lead to this. Best investment I ever made. She rolled her eyes at the financial metaphor but smiled. You know, Luna messaged me last week. This surprised me. What did she want? To apologize, believe it or not. She's engaged to a shaman or spiritual guide or something in Sedona. Said she's found peace and wanted to make amends. And how do you feel about that? Olivia considered the question. Relieved, I think, not because I need her approval, but because it means we can all finally move on. I reached across the table, taking her hand. Speaking of moving on, I pulled a small box from my pocket. I've been analyzing the potential long-term return on a particular investment, and I'd like your professional opinion. Her eyes widened as I opened the box, revealing the emerald ring I'd chosen to match the dress she'd worn to the gala where we'd first gone public with our relationship. Daniel, Olivia Bennett, would you consider a merger of our assets and interests on a permanent basis? She laughed through sudden tears. Did you just propose to me using corporate terminology? I did. Is that a problem? Not at all. She leaned across the table to kiss me. It's perfectly you. And my professional opinion is that this investment will yield exceptional returns for both parties. Is that a yes? That's a yes.